What was the one policy, or maybe you can name a few, but name me one that, under Harris that you said, man, there's no way I can support her because of this?
It's not about no way I can support her. So somebody asked previously about, maybe it was you that laid out when I talked about being bought and paid for. Okay. Is it any surprise that her brother was on the board of Uber? Do you know that Uber and Lyft, they've managed to find a loophole to an existing system to put liabilities on the drivers while getting all the profits that have come with their current system, right? Because it used to be taxis and the cost of operating these systems would fall on the taxi company or those individual companies that would drive their vehicles, right? And then they could write them off. But with Uber, they're allowed to exploit independent contractors. They don't provide.
But didn't that exist before Joe Biden was president?
It does, but if she's got her brother on the board and she's swimming with all these people, I don't care if you're going to give me the lip service of what I want to hear, because who you're surrounding yourself with is also something
I get what you're saying, but that
gives me pause.
It'd be one thing, though, if it was implemented under the Biden administration, but it wasn't.
What was implemented?
Exactly what you're talking about were these loopholes when it comes to Uber and Lyft.
What I'm talking about is I have no reason to believe
her brother's on the board. I understand.
So who are you aligned with? Because we're talking about how Trump is aligned with Netanyahu. Well, okay. Now there's degrees of difference, right? Of course. But if you're surrounding yourself with people who are already exploiting Americans and you're going to tell me that you're going to do something for me, I find that hard to believe. I think most Americans do too.
I hear you. It just so happens you're right that her brother is on this board, which I have heard. But the only point that I'm trying to make is this policy, which I'm with you on this. I think that's ridiculous, but it wasn't implemented under the Joe Biden administration. So I'm wondering why you would blame Kamala Harris for that.
No, I'm not blaming her for that. I'm saying who she has in her.
So you think because her brother works for a large company that she would be corrupted?
Of course.
But where's the evidence that she was corrupted?
Well, she's not in office, so we can't make that.
But she was the vice president of the United States. Wouldn't there be evidence of some sort of level of corruption?
Are we talking about corruption? Or are we talking about her fighting for the policy that needs to change?
You're okay,
right? Because that's the distinction.
No, right? I understand. But you brought up the fact that her brother works for blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
My response to that is, number one, it wasn't implemented under the Biden administration.
Yep.
And number two, where is the evidence that she has been corrupted? I can give you layers of corruption under Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
Layers of proof. Jared Kushner receiving $2.1 billion, his entire family being enriched by crypto. Can you name me a situation at all? She was a senator for years. Mm-hmm. She was a vice president where there's clear and cut evidence of any sort of corruption. Not that her brother worked somewhere, because to me, that's not corruption. Can you name me a situation where there's clear and cut corruption where she made money off of her power in office?
Is the corruption my argument? Because my argument is I don't believe that she was going to fight for us.
Okay, well, you're entitled to an opinion,
right.
But all I'm simply saying is that I want evidence.
And so this is where a lot of people who weren't buying in and did not vote, right? Because we see time and time again what happens with the Democratic Party and why they're considered weak is their action and their words do not align. So from Kamala being who she is and who she has surrounded herself by, I have no proof to believe that she was actually going to be the fighter that I think we need. Would she have created a better experience than we have today? Absolutely.
So why bring up I'm confused. Why bring up her brother working for Uber or on the board when there's no evidence that there was any wrongdoing when she was in office?
Are you wrongdoing? We're not talking about wrongdoing. I'm talking about who is she going to do favors for? People like brother and Uber, or is she going to take care of the American people and average Americans more specifically? Because that's what I focused on when I was running for office.
As a senator, her voting record showed what she voted for and who she was for. Minorities, people that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, whether it be maternity leave, food stamps, the right for a woman, the right to choose. Under the Joe Biden administration, at her directive, Vice President, the CHIPS and Science Act, helping save money on people that are in student loan debt with student loan debt forgiveness, lowering taxes for middle-class America, not giving tax breaks to the top 1%, keeping Medicaid in place. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying she was a senator and she was a vice president. And I understand what you're saying, where you feel like because maybe her brother's in a powerful business position that she wouldn't fight for the American people.
And her policy vision didn't explain anything that was going to help people to the degree that they're bought into her, right? Which is why they didn't ultimately win the election, right?
I think there's a lot of reasons for that.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
going back to the beginning, she said nothing will fundamentally change. So again, if I'm a voter, then I'm inclined to believe you because I don't have any evidence to the contrary.
She made some statements in regards to Joe Biden where I don't believe she wanted to put him throw him under the bus, but she did want to lower taxes for middle class families. She laid out gun control, which I think is extremely important. Things she wanted to do, banning AR-15. She talked about that at every single one of her rallies. She talked about a woman's right to choose, which is another really important issue. The rich paying their fair share. I mean, I get what you're saying, but she really only had 3 months to lay out her groundwork. And listen, I think Joe Biden was a decent president. I will always be upset the fact that he didn't step down much sooner.
Sure.
But I just feel like Kamala.
And why do you think that is?
Why didn't Joe Biden step down sooner?
Yeah.
I think a part of it was probably ego. I don't think he wanted to. I think he probably wanted to run a second term. I think a lot of it was ego for him. I don't think it had anything to do with Kamala Harris. I think this is just my opinion. I don't know for sure.
So then why do you think they didn't have an actual primary? Or because they didn't have any sanctions?
They should have
debates. I was on several debates and they didn't.
I hear you.
The Democratic
It was
Party
a huge mistake. It was a huge mistake that the Democrat Party made. And Joe Biden, I think Joe Biden was stubborn. Yeah. And as much as I respect Joe Biden, I think it's a disgrace that he didn't. Maybe that's too strong of a word, but I was extremely disappointed with the fact that I think Joe Biden is a main reason why Donald Trump became president, because the Democrats didn't have enough time. And I will always be upset at Joe Biden for doing that. He's part of the reason. Thought he's a decent man. I think he's a decent man. I don't know how you feel about him. And I thought he was a decent president, but I thought he made a huge mistake. And I think a lot of it with Joe Biden was ego. I really do feel that way.
Well, one, I don't know Joe Biden, so I only know what I've seen on TV.
Well, I mean, you don't think he's a bad guy.
No, but I will share my experience because while I was running for president, my partner at the time was deployed out in Jordan. Okay, her base was attacked. 3 of our soldiers were killed.
That's horrible.
So my experience is very intimate about what has been going on, and that happened under Joe Biden, right? So my association with his complicity with operating with Netanyahu is a factor in my perception of him. Okay. Do I think that he would have been, he was the better choice? I voted for him, by the way, in his 2020. Yep. And so when we talk about going forward, if we're a voter and I'm feeling all kinds of pain and you're telling me subject A is telling me nothing will fundamentally change, subject B, something is going to change. I'm in pain. I'm going to try out subject B.
Yeah, I mean, those were very general statements that I believe she made on The View, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly, she laid out some framework that was very different than Joe Biden. But I think fundamentally, at least this is how I perceive that statement, maybe different than you. I perceive her making that statement as fundamentally we are going to be for hardworking Americans and people that are struggling in this country to help them. I think fundamentally the rich need to pay their fair share. That's what I got from her when she said fundamentally nothing is going to change. We're not going to be deporting brown people. That's what I got from that statement, but I could be wrong on that.
Well, I mean, this is the job of a great communicator is you don't have to assume anything. Right. They'll tell you exactly what they mean, which is why I'm saying
she was
the
not
experience
the
that people
candidate.
are having today and the platform that I'm offering is one where people have the ability to get their heads above water with things like Medicare for all, universal basic income, paid family leave. I'm looking to increase the floor, meaning the minimum wage, because from my vantage, the concentration of money at the top is at the forefront of why we are experiencing a lot of the pain, because that money has bribed our politicians, and those politicians continue to get into office and do the bidding of the wealthy.